Hey guys! So, as promised, here is my part one of two, yeah, it's only going to be two videos, going more into detail about the paranormal experiences I had in Edinburgh, and also going into history about the places there, since they are really, really interesting. If you ever are in Edinburgh, go. I know it's really touristy, but just go. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. She does that. It's a dog. Anyway. So, today I will be going more into depth about the vaults. Now, the vaults were built in 1788 and are actually really, really interesting because when the South Bridge was built in 1788, it was to expand the city southward, and on either side of the bridge, buildings were built. And under the bridge, 19 archways were built to support the bridge and then split into three parts. So it's like a three-story thing out of just archways. And so these were rented out to the buildings. They were mostly storage. I know a couple workshops were in there. One of the ghosts in there is a cobbler from back in the time when it was workshops and stuff like that. Like they found leather and shoes and stuff. And I mentioned in my last video that I'm sensitive, and I've only ever felt him once, and I've been down there probably about 12 times in total. So there's that. But since it's Edinburgh and it rains and they didn't waterproof it, water got in to these vaults and just destroyed storage, destroyed workshops. So all the legitimate businesses moved out within like the first 10 to 20 years, I believe. And after that, illegitimate businesses moved in. Body snatchers, this was around the time of prostitution, gambling, slums. Like these were the slums. This is where people who didn't have housing went to try and survive. A lot of times they didn't survive. And it's really, really sad. And that's where the majority of the ghosts that are in the vaults come from. If you are in Edinburgh and you feel like going on these, there's a couple tour companies that will take you down into like the part of the vaults they own. I would suggest going with Mercat Tours. I said in my last video that they are very knowledgeable and very nice and just all around amazing. And also this, like Mercat Tours vaults are the vaults that have been like in BBC's Most Haunted. I believe BBC did that, and like Ghost Adventures and stuff. If you are familiar with those shows, those are the vaults that Mercat goes into. And so when you go into, I'm going to be talking about Mercat's vaults and my experiences in there. And so going into the vaults, you go down a lot of flights of stairs and you enter this hallway and they take you first into the double height room. It's called the double height room because it used to be like those two-story things like I said, but the ceiling has since caved in, so that's why it's a double height room. But you go in there, and this is where I've had the majority of my experiences. Like, I've had experiences throughout their vaults, but this is the majority of them. In this first room, I told you in my last video about that shadow figure that I just saw getting closer and closer and closer to the group. And it turns out Ross also saw that. I didn't realize he saw that until we filmed the video yesterday, and he was like, yeah, I saw that. So I was like, oh, alright. But another one was the last time I was in Edinburgh. I went with my mother, and we were standing in the double height room, and the tour guide was in the doorway, and just behind the guide, there was just this face. Just like I just thought it was like somebody waiting to come in, like they accidentally didn't let everybody in before they started telling the story, or it was another member of Mercat. Knowing them better now, they wouldn't try to, they don't use jump routers, they don't do any of that. It's all real what happens in there. So I saw this person behind the tour guide, and I didn't realize at the time, but later when they take you into like their mini museum thing, there's a picture of their most notorious ghost, Mr. Boots, who was a slum landlord. Remember how I said it was the slums? He was a slum landlord. And they have a picture of somebody took of his face, like that happened in the vaults. And I'm like, that is the face I saw. And if I can find a picture of that, I will put it at the end of this video, because it's really interesting and really scary. Like just to see that behind a tour guide, you'll understand. I've had a lot of feelings in this room, but those were the 2 times in this room that I actually, like, saw something. And it was always in the hallway. It's never actually been in the room that I saw something. And going out of this room, out of the double height room, you enter what they call, like, their neutral room, I guess, because nothing really happens in there. And then you go into, like, a back, like, corridor sort of thing that leads you, like, around. And so you go in there, and when I first went in there, I thought I saw something at, like, the back, because you go in, like, halfway into the room, like, that's where the door is, and then it goes this way and then this way, and you end up going this way on the tour. I thought I saw something at the back, like, right here, but I wouldn't really call that much of anything. I just wouldn't. And then you turn in to the cobbler's room, and in this room, on the opposite doorway that you come in, either side, there is where the cobbler is supposed to be, and then on the other side, there's where a young girl, woman I should say, probably about 19 or 20, is said to be, and she lost her child, is what psychics have told people at Mercat, that she lost her child, and she's, like, screaming and, like, clawing at herself to get the child back. And when Ross and I eventually did, because we went on a couple doors where you could go investigate by yourself, when Ross and I eventually did go do that, we set me in her spot, because she supposedly hates women and, like, to claw at them and stuff, and we pretended I was pregnant, and we had EMF detectors, and the entire time we were talking about me being pregnant, me having the baby, it spiked pretty high, actually, and that's an interesting little tidbit, and I felt like I was being scratched on my chest, so that's probably just me projecting that feeling. We did take a picture afterwards, and of my chest, and there was no scratch marks. It was a little red, but I did get sunburned that day, so nothing of that. Out of this room, you go into a, like, it looks like wine cellars. Like, I'm pretty sure it was wine cellars at one point. You go in there, and there's the little boy, Jack is what they call him, but, remember how I said I was sensitive. Jack told me, I think, like, my 4th or 5th time down there, that his name was Jason, and that's pretty close to Jack. Psychics could get it wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm going to call him Jason. And multiple times I've just felt him, like, grab my hand, just like little boys will do to women, like mother figures, is grab their hand. I don't know how I'm a mother figure, but it happened. Oh, I really gotta hurry. So out of this room, you go into a different room, and you turn down, and you go into Mr. Boots' room. Remember the notorious person? I've never actually had much of a problem with him. He did pull my hair a couple times, like, not like pull, like, violent. And we were with a lady who claimed to be psychic the last time we were down there, and she's like, Mr. Boots likes you are allowed to go in, the rest of us are not. I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. And then my boyfriend decided to be a dick and take a bunch of pictures. Oh, and this is a really scary story. Not scary, interesting story, because after Mr. Boots' room, you leave, so this will be the last story I'll tell you. Ross was taking pictures of Mr. Boots' room, otherwise known as the white room because it's painted white, and he was just taking pictures because he wanted to capture something like that picture I saw you in the last video. And just all of a sudden his phone turned off. It was like full battery and everything, and it just shut off. Sorry. And when it turned back on, the picture first had not taken, even though it had flashed, even though it said it had taken right before it turned off. And 2, it was set to 2004, December 31st, Edinburgh time, which is really interesting, because we had no service the entire time we were there, so it's no way it could, like, bounce off something and create Edinburgh time. So if any of you know the significance of December 31st in Edinburgh in 2004, I'd be glad to know. I have to end this video now. Alright, I will see you all soon. I will put that picture at the end if I can find it. Alright, love you. Bye.